Hello, welcome back. My name is Charlie, and it's the end of June. So this is the video I put out at the end of every month where I talk about the books that I've read, the books that I'm currently reading, the books that I'm planning on reading in the next month, and then at the end, just lightly touch on some channel stats and some channel plans again for next month. The month of June was pretty slow for me in terms of number of things that I've read. I really only completed 2 novellas, and I'm working my way still through the only full-length novel that I picked up this month, and we'll get to that in just a second. It's fine with me. I think it's maybe a less interesting video, today, so it'll probably be a little shorter than usual, but I don't have any issue with the fact that I read a little bit less this month than I usually do. It was a busy month. If you watched my video last week, you'll know that I was traveling for the first half of the month, and I just didn't read a ton there, and the book that I took with me just hasn't really captured me. And again, we'll talk about that in a second. First, I'm going to talk about the books that I actually finished reading this month. So that's the Fireborn Blade, which is a novella, and its sequel, The Bloodless Princess. This is a series, I guess. I don't know how long it's intended to be. It's currently just those 2 books are out. I could see the author stopping here. I could see the author continuing and telling more of the story. I think I would prefer if they continued the story, which is a funny thing to say because I definitely preferred book 1, but I think if there was a 3rd installment, it would improve my thoughts or my opinions on book 2, because I almost feel like it was like setting up more, or like a 3rd book would make book 2 more satisfying, if that makes any sense. I'm not going to tell you much about what happens in book 2, other than that there's this thing in book 2, and I love them. But other than that, I'll mostly just tell you about book 1. Book 1 is about a knight. Madeley, I think is how you pronounce their name. It's very confusing spelling, but Madeley, I think is how it's pronounced. I did do the audiobook, and I think that's how they pronounced it. But anyway, she is a knight, and she is like on a quest to reclaim her honor. She did something and she lost her honor. She wants it back. And basically the way she is going to go about doing that is she's going to seek out the Fireborn Blade. It's this blade that is lost to time, and it's guarded by this well-known dragon, the White Lady. It is a world where there are dragons, and this is a very feared dragon, the White Lady. It's everybody knows about it. Everybody stays away from it, and that's pretty much what the story's about. It's very much just her journey to go get that blade. At least that's the setup. And she goes with a hired squire who's like a mage, and she brings him along. And it's kind of about their journey together, which on its own would be fine. It would be fairly interesting. It would be a fun enough journey. But what really stood out was the history that you get kind of between chapters of the main story. You get these like dumps of history, which sometimes in some stories can be a little like jarring and disjointed and take you out of the story, and it doesn't always fit. But this was more. It was really good. I liked this book a lot. It worked really well. The world created here is really rich and really interesting, and the magic in it, it's kind of like almost not stereotypical, but it's like classic. Like it's a classic fantasy world, right? With dragons and mages and knights and all that stuff, and just somehow though it has enough of a unique twist on it that makes it really interesting. And I don't really want to tell you much about those twists, but and so I won't. I'm not going to, because I think you should read this because it's really short and I had a really good time with it. I did the audiobook for it, and the narrator was fantastic. All the voices were distinct and clear, even though she was doing a lot of different accents, or not a lot, but a few different accents. Never was I like stumbling over how she was pronouncing things. It was very clearly spoken, very, very well acted. Really, really good job. So I would recommend the audiobook. It was like 4.5 hours long, like really, really short. It's a novella. So yeah, that was really cool. There were, a lot of twists that happened, especially, by the end. There's one that really it caught me off guard, and yeah, that was really cool. I thought I saw something coming, but then it turned out to be completely different. So that was really, really well done, really well handled by the author. The characters were really interesting. Book 2, like I said, I liked, but it wasn't as good. I still think it's worth reading. Again, it's about 4.5 hours, 4 to 5 hours, somewhere between there. Definitely worth reading, especially if you liked book 1. And again, I think if there's a book 3, I'll want to read that for sure. The second book, I think the stakes didn't seem as high, and it seemed a little more focused on the romance, which I was actually like ready for. I was looking for this to be, I thought it was like a romance, like a romantasy, and it is, but I think more so in book 2. Than in book 1. It's a sapphic love story, so it fit in with Pride Month as well. It didn't do that on purpose; it just happened to be. But yeah, again, really good time with this duology. I guess I don't know if it's gonna stay a duology, but right now there's 2. Definitely a series that I would recommend, especially if you're looking for a quick fix. If you need, you want to add just like one more book into your month, you can do that really easily with this one. You can sit down and read it in a day if you have a lot of free time. And yeah, rich world, interesting characters and magic, and the dragons were really neat. So yeah, good time. Now, as far as the full-length novels, again, I didn't actually finish any full-length novel this month, but I started reading The Devils by Joe Abercrombie early in the month, and I'm currently still working my way through it. I'm really close to the end at this point, so I think I have a good idea of where I'm going to come in terms of like a rating and my overall feelings about it. It's definitely fun. It's a fun book, kind of from start to finish, at least up to the point that I'm at. I'm never bored when I'm reading it, but when I put the book down, I am never thinking about it. I don't like want, or not that I don't want to go pick it up, but I'm not drawn to it. I'm not like dying to dive back into the pages. But then when I do, I have a really good time. And the audiobook is really well done. Again, I'm really enjoying the narrator. I'm going between audio and physical, which I love to do. And this, it's been a really good experience, again, while I'm in the book. But when I'm away from it, I don't know, doesn't have a lot of staying power for some reason. The tone of the book is very like silly and witty and sharp and crass and crude, and it's kind of hectic is a good way of saying it. I think it's very fast paced. I think sometimes to a fault. I feel like, at least, and then occasionally there's several chapters in a row where nothing's moving, but it's still somehow hectic in those moments, but like the plot isn't really progressing. You're just kind of going in circles, and you're learning about the characters' backstories, which are really interesting. But sometimes I'm like, all right, get out of this spot, keep going, because the pace before this has been so quick, and now we've slowed down in terms of like overall pace, but I don't know, it still feels chaotic somehow. Anyway, what is this book about? It's sort of like a biblical Suicide Squad, sort of, if you're familiar with the Suicide Squad. They're like a DC Comics thing where it's essentially like villains that have to go do good, and if they don't, bad things happen to them. In the Suicide Squad, their heads will like explode, right? If they do anything bad while they're on their missions. And in this, I'm not going to tell you what happens to them if they are disobeying their orders, but it's very fun. like a ragtag team of no good people, essentially, sort of, that are put together, and they're sent on a quest by the Pope, who is like a little girl in this book, which is a very fun twist on the Pope. There's a lot of little things like that where it's like a quick little subversion of your expectations, and I really enjoy all those little quirks throughout the book. Their quest, or their task, is essentially to transport this person from here to here, and that's it. We just follow them on that journey. It's a point A to point B setup, but then it ends up being like point A to point Z, because they do a million things in between, and there's a lot of quick sharp turns where they're taken to do something else, or they're interrupted by this and they have to handle this thing, and there's a lot of fun little like fight scenes and interesting almost like puzzles that they have to work through, and it's really cool, but somehow sometimes feels a little disjointed, or too quick, or too curvy, too turny, too twisty. I don't even know how to describe it. Sam Harrison described it as episodic, and it does feel episodic to me. I almost feel like, the book has 4 parts. I feel like each of those parts could kind of be its own like novella, sort of. Like I would read them as novellas, standalone, or not standalone novellas, but like connected novellas. I would believe that that's kind of how it was written. Really, I would believe that it was written to be adapted into a television show, and it has been like optioned or picked up to be adapted. I don't know how long that'll take, if it ever happens, but it's written, in my opinion, to be adapted. Like I could see each of these parts being 2 episodes of a fun HBO series. I would believe that was the vision for this. I think I'm gonna probably come in at like a 3 to 4 rating on this book. 4 if it really wows me in the end. 3 if it stays on its current trajectory, and probably somewhere in the middle. If it gets a little more fun than it is right now, it'll be a 3.5. But right now, it's kind of teetering off in this last 20% that I'm reading. But I haven't finished it yet, so I don't have my full thoughts ready for you. It's my first Joe Abercrombie read. I'm definitely interested in reading more of his stuff, and I know this is one of the more divisive of his books. I know the humor, I think he always writes with a little humor and a little wit, but it sounds like it's maybe a little over the top in this book. And I like the humor. It is over the top. And generally, I have enjoyed the writing as a whole. I really like his character work, and his like fight or like battle scenes, I think, have been really well done. Easy to follow, which I usually get lost or just like my eyes glaze over when I'm reading through a fight scene, and that hasn't happened in this. I've enjoyed those scenes more than a lot of the other scenes. So yeah, definitely interested in reading more Joe Abercrombie. This has not deterred me from that, although this is not going to be an all-time favorite for me by any means. And that's it. That's what I read this month, and what I'm currently reading right now. I do think that I will finish it in the month of June. I'll be very surprised if it bleeds into July, but I guess we'll see, because life is life. I also finished season 1 of Dungeons and Daddies, and I don't think anybody cares about that, but I love Dungeons and Daddies. I know I talked about it last month. It's a phenomenal D&D podcast. Calling it a D&D podcast is like generous, because they only like sometimes play D&D, and other times they're just doing like a creative writing exercise together. They're just telling a story together, bending the rules of D&D all over the place, but it's so fun. Highly recommend that. I finished season 1. I'm going to be getting into season 2 very soon, I'm sure. I'm very excited. I love that podcast. Moving on to July and my plans for July, what I want to read in July. I am very excited for the book that I'm picking up after The Devils. That's also probably impacting my experience with The Devils, if I'm fully honest, because I really can't wait to pick this up. And so every time I'm reading The Devils, I'm like, okay, it's got to get over soon so that I can pick up Once Was Willem. I just talked about this at the end of my last video that I put up. I picked this up recently, and I just can't stop thinking about it. I'm so excited. I have it sitting on my shelf upstairs, like facing out, and every time I walk past the room, I just can't wait. I want to pick it up so bad. Like I said, I did just talk about this last week in a video, so I'm not going to go too far into it, but it's called Once Was Willem. It's by M.R. Carey. It is, I think, basically just the story of a zombie. So somebody who once was Willem. He was Willem, then he died, then he came back as a zombie. And it's like a found family type thing where him and a ragtag team of people go up against an evil sorcerer who comes to town. That's, again, my basic understanding of it. I don't know a ton about it. I can't really explain why. I'm dying to get to this book, but I'm dying to get to this book. I know a few people who've read it who said it's a contender for their #1 book of the year, which is exciting to me because I honestly, looking back, I haven't had that many like heavy hitters. I have 0 books that I read this year that I've given 5 stars, unless you count the most recent Stormlight Archives book. But I only read part of that this year. I mostly read it in 2024. So I kind of have no 5-star reads this year. And I'm hoping that this can be my first 5-star of the year, just based on people that I trust, their opinions of it. So we'll see. I cannot wait to get to this one. After I read that one, or maybe at the same time, because I want to read this one physically, so on audio, I'll probably start reading this next one kind of simultaneously. That is going to be book 3 of the Dresden Files. This is called Grave Peril. I cannot wait to get back to this series. Book 2, I enjoyed. It wasn't as strong as book 1, but I loved book 1, and I think I've heard pretty unanimously from people on the internet that book 3 is like really where it takes off. Like Jim Butcher, the author, really like figures out where he's going with this story, and it feels tighter, and it just, yeah, it's all uphill from there as far as I can tell. This is a huge series that you've probably heard about. It's a wizard with a gun, and he's going on kind of these just monster of the week type of adventures, book to book. It's kind of a different theme, I think, or like a different focus. That's how it seems to be to me so far after reading only 2 of them. And yeah, they're just super fun little palate cleansers. They're really easy to read, really quick. I usually read them in like 3 or 4 days because they're just page turners, kind of just simple ideas. I think they get a little more complex as the character depth grows throughout the series. I also think that we get introduced to a really important character in book 3, so I'm excited to see what that's about. Yeah, I'm stoked. After that one, I'm not really sure where I'll go. I might finally make it back to the Lamplight Murder Mystery series that I've been talking about getting back to for a while now. The author Morgan Stang just put out a short story, which comes after book 1, before book 2, and all I've read so far in this series is book 1, so that's a great time, a great point to jump in on. So I'm hoping to pick that up this month as well, and then maybe from that short story, if I feel drawn to, I'll dive right into book 2. These again are novellas. There's the short story, and then the rest of the books have been novellas. So really quick murder mystery fantasy books. I think I'm still in the mood for that after reading Drop of Corruption last month. I would like more fantasy murder mysteries, so I'm ready. On to channel stats. We've gained 9 new subscribers this month, which is the same that we did last month. So hello to all of you new subscribers. Thank you so much for joining us. We also put out 4 videos, or I guess this is the 4th video. I put out 3 other videos this month, which is our typical cadence. It's just 1 a month. I had the first video this month was a board game, like how to play, River Valley Glassworks. That was a lot of fun to make, really hard to make. A lot of effort has to go into the board game content. It's very different from the book content. And it always underperforms, but that's fine because I know this is mostly a book audience that I have here with some people who, the hobbies cross over. And so I always expect them to do a little bit worse, and this, it didn't surprise me in that regard, but it was a lot of fun to make. I'm glad that I did it. I think I want to do more of like a list kind of video for my next board game video. I don't know when that's going to happen, maybe next month, but probably the following month, because I realized all of my board game videos have been like sort of like review / how to plays, and I haven't really talked about my overall collection or interests in board games. So I think that'd be fun to do, to sort of give you more information about what I like in that regard. I also had a part 9 of my TBR culling series that is getting close to the end. That was the end of the list that we're going through, like the current list that we've been working through over these past 9+ months. And there's a few more videos that I have in mind of things that I can do to just kind of wrap up that series that I'm very excited to get to. I will be getting to that next month. This one did surprisingly well for these videos. It like doubled the views of part 8, which I never understand with this series, because I would think people that are watching the series are coming back for the series, but sometimes the views are like way down and sometimes they're way higher. So this one is hovering around 200 views, which is just strange to me. It has like double the views of the part 8 video, but half of the comments, or not half of the comments, but fewer comments than the part 8 video. So it's very confusing, but whatever. That video continues to be, or that series continues to be fun to make, and people are still following along. So yeah, that was great. And then I had my last video that I put up was just kind of a trip summary, because like I said, I went on vacation for the first half of this month. So I talked about my trip and did like a little book haul, because I bought a couple books while I was on my vacation. And that video was a ton of fun to make. It was fun to gush about my friends that I got to meet over there, and talk about some cool books that I got. And then I also got to appear on somebody else's channel this month. That's 2 months in a row that I did that. I have no plans to do that in the month of July, but I went over on to Tim Burbage's channel, which I will link to below, or I'll link directly to the video that I'm talking about. And we talked about the Poppy War. So if you want to hear my like full thoughts on the Poppy War, as well as Tim's full thoughts on the Poppy War, head over there and check that out. It was a lot of fun to make. I really appreciate him having me on, and I'm hoping that we get to talk about book 2 and 3 if ever we pick those up. And then, like I said, the 4th video that I'm putting out this month is the video that you're watching right now. As far as videos that I want to make in the month of July, it's the middle of the year, right? So we've passed the first half of the year. So this month I'm going to be doing, I want to do that mid-year freak out thing that people do. It's like a tag where you kind of give like awards to books that you've read this year, talk positively and negatively about some books that you've read, your reading experience so far in 2025. So I'm going to put one of those out next week probably, and then the following week after that I'm going to do my quarterly check-ins, like a goal check-ins video. I did this at the end of the first quarter of the year, talked about the goals that I had in my reading, and just saw how I was doing, and I want to do that again now that we're at the end of Q2. So I'm going to do that, and then there'll be probably just another TBR cull video. In this one, it's probably going to be just me catching up from where the list ended when I did my export 10 months ago, and where my current shelf is on Goodreads, because I've continued to add things to my TBR, and just do the same thing as I always do, just go through the difference there, and keep things on it, remove things like that. So that'll probably be what I do for the TBR cull video this month, and then there'll be another one of these videos where I talk about how I did in July. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. Let me know how your reading was this month. If you've read anything that I've read. Have you read The Devils? I feel like a lot of people are reading The Devils. I would love to hear everybody's opinions on The Devils. It's been so varied from what I can tell. So yeah, let me know if you read that, or if you haven't, let me know just how your reading month has been for the month of June. And also let me know if you're planning on reading anything that I mentioned. Once Was Willem. I would love to read this with a few people, because it sounds super fun. So if you looked into that after I talked about it and decided you want to read it, let me know, and I can. I'll talk to you about it as I read it. I would love to do that. But otherwise, I will see you here next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.